What exactly did Elon Musk mean when he said, I'm not just MAGA, I'm Dark MAGA?
I'm not just MAGA, I'm Dark MAGA.
A lot of people thought it was just a silly joke, he was goofing around, but it was in fact much more serious than you could have ever imagined.
I'm Dark Gothic MAGA.
Now, if you're a big MAGA guy, you might get triggered by this, but let me just say, I'm a MAGA guy too. I love Trump. I'm very happy that he won. I'm very thankful for what Elon Musk has done. I think that him buying X was as consequential as literally the Declaration of Independence. But with that said, he is into some very creepy things, and he is taking us down a road that might not be so great when we get there. So there's this concept called the Dark Enlightenment, which I touched on briefly last week when I talked about Peter Thiel and JD Vance. So they both think favorably of this. And this is what the Dark Enlightenment is, if you are not familiar with it. Basically rejects democracy in favor for an authoritarian system at the hands of a corporate government structure. So basically, they don't want government bureaucrats to run things. They want people who are in business to run things, like the top corporate people, because they think that since they've shown some degree of expertise in an industry, that they're more well equipped to run the country than the government, which is a reasonable argument, but what this thing really says and what it really wants to do is pretty viciously ruthless. So the whole concept of what we're talking about here is that there's multiple pathways to hell. Like, it's not all butterflies and rainbows with Elon Musk. Like, I've often wondered, is it possible that Elon Musk could be the Antichrist, because he was such a breath of fresh air and like a relief, a savior for the censorship that we were facing, to the point now where any problem that we're facing in the corporate world, we'd say, oh, Elon, go buy this company so that you could save us from the greedy people who are trying to censor us or trying to make us do things that we don't want to do. So I don't like this dependence that we're forming on Elon Musk. The people who started the Dark Enlightenment theory were philosophers named Curtis Yarvin and Nick Land. We'll get into them later, but let me first tell you who supports these theories. The list might surprise you. So I mentioned Peter Thiel and JD Vance last week for people who support Curtis Yarvin's work. Peter Thiel said, I no longer believe that freedom and democracy can coexist. JD Vance often references Yarvin's work. Steve Bannon also has read and admired Curtis Yarvin's work, although he denies direct communication with him. Another one, Michael Anton from the Trump administration, State Department Director of Policy Planning. Now, while Musk has not directly mentioned a favorable attitude about the Dark Enlightenment, he has repeatedly mentioned his aspirations of living in a technocratic society. Now, the way some people might describe a technocracy might make it sound smart and the best way to do things, but it is terrifying when you take it to the true extent of what they want to do. So technocracy is a form of government where decision makers are selected based on their expertise in certain industries. And the society is mainly run by people with scientific or technical expertise. Now tell me if this is weird. So in 2021, Elon Musk, the CFO, Chief Financial Officer of Tesla, Zach Kirkhorn, they changed their working titles at Tesla to Techno Kings. This is a legitimate SEC filing. They changed their title to Techno Kings. Okay, maybe it's just a joke. He's a silly guy, right? But that's not the only time he's mentioned a technocracy. He also tweeted one time, the Mars Technocracy. And in 2019, he wrote, accelerating Starship development to build the Martian Technocracy. Then in 2024, Bezos posted on X, quote, the network state for Mars is being formed before our eyes. And Musk replies, the Mars Technocracy. Bezos replies, count me in. Musk, Bezos, number one, number two, wealthiest people in the world, both openly in favor of a technocracy. Let's quickly go back to the roots of where this technocratic mindset began. It goes all the way back to the 1930s and was actually considered so dangerous and concerning that it was made illegal in Canada, which is ironic because you know who the leader of the technocratic political party was in Canada? It was Elon freaking Musk's grandfather on his maternal side. His grandfather was the leader of the technocratic party. This was a whole thing called the technocratic movement. It kind of faded away because the New Deal type of mindset won popularity in America. Then, World War II distracts us. So faded away a little bit, but people like Zygmunt Brzezinski, you might have heard of him. He was the national security advisor for Jimmy Carter. He wrote a book called The Technocratic Era, and it's widely believed that China was the test bed for how a technocratic society would operate. So you know how in China they have the social credit score, they have the facial recognition cameras where if you jaywalk, they end up sending you a ticket. So the law is really strongly enforced through technology. In 1937, Technology Inc.'s in-house magazine, The Technocrat, Volume 3, Number 4, described technocracy as, quote, the science of social engineering, the scientific operation of the entire social mechanism to produce and distribute goods and services to the entire population. So this is like what Musk was talking about in that interview just from a few days ago, where he says,
goods and services will become as close to free.
Why are goods and services free in an AI world, or close to free?
Well, you have, I don't know, call it tens of billions of robots that they will make you anything or provide any service you want for basically next to nothing.
you're not going to have to want or need for anything when it comes to goods or services. You're just going to need to be fulfilled somehow. Go full circle. What does Yuval Harari say? He calls us useless eaters. And that's what the technocrats, that's what the Dark Enlightenment, that's what they think of the common person. They think that we're useless eaters. They call us like human animals. So that's how they're spending their time thinking right now, like just how to occupy the 99%, because the vast majority of jobs are going to disappear. We might not even need to work. And I mean, Musk constantly talks about how we're going to have a universal basic income. And he even goes as far to say is it's not going to be a universal basic income like Social Security or anything like that. It's going to be like universal basic wealth, meaning that anybody could have almost anything. So here's an interesting thing. Now, I love DOGE and what it's doing, what its intentions are, because I think our government's disgusting, and I think that they've stolen money from us for the last 100 years. But tell me if this idea by Curtis Yarvin sounds a little bit like DOGE. So he introduced an idea called RAGE, R-A-G-E, standing for Remove All Government Employees. Maintain a healthy level of skepticism with DOGE. I mean, I'm still in favor of it. I still want them to remove 20 to 50% of the fat from the government payroll. But let's keep an eye on it and make sure they don't try to completely change the system and actually remove all government employees, because there's nothing good about government employees except like it's so slow that it stops things from happening. Like, yes, if you had a corporate leadership structure, they'd be smarter, they'd be more efficient, but change would happen much more rapidly and in a potentially much more unsettling way where there's no recourse. So sometimes the biggest strength of our government is the degree to which it stops change from happening, as ironic as it is. I mean, like, there's no perfect solution. Like, there's just trade-offs, and you're definitely trading one evil for another evil. And I mean, I don't know, maybe this idea appeals to you, but really think it through, because I know a lot of you guys have a hard time eliminating your bias. I mean, I've literally said like 99% positive things about Trump over the last 8 years. But right now, I'm calling him out for stuff I don't like. It's only a few things, but I'm calling it out because like I have a working brain and I'm capable of being unbiased and saying like, oh, hey, I don't like that. I could see that going in a bad direction. So with Musk here, I could see this going in a bad direction. I think his past is a little bit creepy. I think the things that he says are a little bit creepy. And I mean, speaking of creepy things to say, Peter Thiel goes out and says, quote, we are in a deadly race between politics and technology. And Mark Andreessen, tech billionaire, who's been one of the main people recommending people for Trump's administration. This is something he said, and I mean, this is a great sales pitch. I mean, if I didn't know the stuff I just told you, I would listen to the sales pitch and say, hell yeah, sign me up. So he goes, quote, our enemies are not bad people, but rather bad ideas. Our present society has been subjected to a mass demoralization campaign for 6 decades, true, against technology and against life, under varying names like sustainability, ESG, tech ethics, risk management, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So those are all lines straight out of Davos, straight out of the Club of Rome. You know, like they've been trying to do the limits to growth thing where they intentionally stunt the progress of energy sources because they want slow population growth, and they have this mindset of scarcity. So, I mean, I totally agree with this statement right here, but this demoralization campaign is based on bad ideas of the past, zombie ideas, many derived from communism. Disastrous then and now. Totally agree. Totally agree with everything he said there. But the only problem is the idea that he has for the way things should go can ironically lead us to the same bad end result as the ideas that he's fighting against. And this is going to be a tough one to fight against because it's a very seductive idea. Like, it's true what they're saying. There will be lower taxes. There'll be no taxes because there will be probably no need for income, because they'll be able to produce things so rapidly and so efficiently. But there is going to be a dehumanizing element of it. Like, there's going to be two classes of people, the people who produce things, the people who consume things. And the people who produce things are going to have the robot armies, which are going to be the most powerful armies in the world. I mean, Elon Musk says he's going to have 10 billion robots built in the next 20 years. If you have 10 billion robots built from your company, you have the most powerful military in the world. I mean, even if you have 1 million robots that are capable of like shooting with precision, never getting tired, sprinting, night vision, they could probably fly, they could probably swim. If you have 1 million of those, you have the most powerful military in the world. That combined with Starlink, combined with Peter Thiel's Palantir, you know, who does the government call when they need to do military stuff? They tap the private sector because the private sector always builds things better than the government. You know, Operation Maven talked about it last week. Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, they're using Starlink and Palantir to gather vast amounts of data from the Ukraine war to develop the ability to do like precision strikes using AI technology and satellite imagery and whatnot. So they got some powerful stuff. So I do believe technology could fix the vast majority of our problems, but it probably will create a degree of control over the population that we've never seen before. Remember the guy Curtis Yarden I talked about that is pushing the Dark Enlightenment theory? So this is a quote from Curtis Yarden. Our goal, in short, is a humane alternative to genocide. That is, the ideal solution achieves the same result as mass murder, the removal of undesirable elements from society, but without any of the moral stigma. The best humane alternative to genocide I can think of is not to liquidate the wards meaning people, either metaphorically or literally, but to virtualize them. A virtualized human is in permanent solitary confinement, waxed like a bee larva into a cell which is sealed except for emergencies. This would drive him insane, except that the cell contains an immersive virtual reality interface which allows him to experience a rich, fulfilling life in a completely imaginary world.
The Matrix.
So I always felt super weird that all these guys who hated Trump in 2020 suddenly just got right on behind him in 2024. I mean, it was a little bit weird the timing. Musk just jumps at the opportunity to endorse Trump right after he gets shot. It's weird that Mark Zuckerberg falls in the line, starts supporting Trump right after Elon does it. Bezos tells the Washington Post not to endorse a candidate, shows up at the inauguration. So what we really have here is something that you might call the PayPal Mafia or the tech oligarchy that I think is trying to do a soft coup of the MAGA movement. So it's like Dark MAGA is trying to swallow MAGA. Like I said, we're in a much better situation right now. We were destined to fail under the last administration, but there are more than one way to hell. Right now, we're just on a longer route. We extended our time. Like Musk has the ambitions to have half the global financial system run off of X. He wants to have 10 billion robots, so more robots than humans. What degree of control and freedom do we have in that situation? This is kind of crazy to say, but you remember the Unibomber's manifesto when he just snapped and he said, oh my God, technology is going to enslave mankind. I need to blow it up to stop this from happening. And I mean, wasn't really too effective with what he was trying to do. But imagine that maybe he just like saw the Matrix. He was that smart to where he just saw the trajectory in which technology was going. We're probably a good 10 years away from being total slaves to technology. And whoever the few people are that are running that, they're going to have much more power than the president has over us right now. Like to have everybody's data, to be able to see what everybody's doing constantly, to have constant surveillance on them, like that's unprecedented power in the entire history of mankind. We don't know a whole lot about Musk's religion, whether or not he fears God, but I don't know. He's somebody to keep an eye on. Musk seems like he wants to be liked, like he wants to be the hero, but he might have ambitions that are just as creepy as the other guys. So for that reason, we're going to talk about the PayPal Mafia next week, unless Trump does not release the Epstein files. I put that one on hold this week because I was giving him a chance. Maybe he'll release them. Doing JFK today as the time of recording this, but we'll call it a coin flip. I'll do either PayPal Mafia or why Trump's afraid to release the Epstein files next week. But if you want a jump start on knowing why Trump is afraid to release the Epstein files, join my circle on Minnect. So I have a group called the Forbidden Book Society, and every day I do a deep summary of a chapter of a book that we're going through. So we're going to do probably like 3 books a month, and it's basically for if you want to know more about the sick, twisted stuff that's going on in the world that you just don't have time to read about. Like we're reading One Nation Under Blackmail right now, and it's an insane book. It's like an 18-hour Audible listen for the first volume, 15 hours for the second one. but I've read it like 3 times already, so I'm just giving like a executive summary about 1 chapter per day so that everybody can follow along. And I mean, we have a really cool interactive group there. Super smart people have joined. So if that appeals to you, if you want to be part of something cool like that and get like the equivalent of 10 college educations in 1 year, then check out the Forbidden Book Society on Minnect in the Circles community. And if you like this video, check out this video about why Peter Thiel might be the creepiest billionaire in the world. Thank you for watching. Much love.